Hello everyone, this is Ketish here. In this video, I'm going to go through the AQA Combined Science Chemistry Paper 2 Higher Tier from 2024. Question number 2, which is exactly the same as question number 7 from the Foundation Tier, is on the rate and extent of chemical change. Some factors affect the rates of chemical reactions. 2.1, a student investigated the effect of changing the particle size of calcium carbonate on the rate of reaction with hydrochloric acid. So they're going to try and change the effect of particle size on the rate of reaction, and they're using hydrochloric acid and calcium carbonate or limestone. Now, according to the diagram, they've got calcium carbonate. Now this needs to be measured amount. Hydrochloric acid has to be measured amount as well. Let's say when you're using, you'd use about 10 grams, and hydrochloric acid, let's say about 100 ml or milliliters. You'd measure the acid and measure the calcium carbonate and add it to the conical flask, and as soon as you add it, you'd fit in the stopper, and during the reaction, the hydrochloric acid reacts with the calcium carbonate to form calcium chloride, carbon dioxide and water, and these bubbles are carbon dioxide gas that is being given out. Now the carbon dioxide gas will go up through the delivery tube and into the measuring cylinder here, and it will be collected over here. So you can measure the volume of carbon dioxide that is actually being given out. Now either you'd wait for the entire if you're measuring the rate of reaction, you'd want to, let's say, time how long it actually takes to give a certain volume of carbon dioxide. Or you can find out what the volume of carbon dioxide is given out every 30 seconds, so you can work out the rate. So the question says, describe a method the student could use to produce valid results. How would you do this experiment? It's a 6-mark question, and this question is actually a required practical question. So here's the answer as I was describing to you. Measure volume of hydrochloric acid, and in your description it is always good to give a volume. Example 10 milliliters. It doesn't have to be accurate, but it should appear that you know that you can actually think of a volume using a measuring cylinder. Second, measure mass of calcium carbonate like 10 grams using a balance or weighing scale. Then add the hydrochloric acid to calcium carbonate into the conical flask. Put a stopper and delivery tube into the conical flask and start a timer. Record the volume of gas collected at set time intervals, for example 30 seconds, or time how long it takes for a fixed volume of gas such as 100 ml to be collected. Repeat using different size pieces of calcium carbonate. Remember, they're trying to find out how the particle size affects the rate of reaction. So I've given here example powder, small, medium and large size chips. Use the same mass of calcium carbonate. That's why I mentioned 10 grams, and volume of hydrochloric acid 100 ml, and use the same concentration of the acid and starting temperature, for example room temperature, of hydrochloric acid. Repeat each experiment and calculate the mean values. The rate of reaction is equal to the volume of gas collected divided by the time taken. That the last 2 bullet points you don't really have to mention other than say repeat the experiment, but it is always good to finish off by describing how to measure the rate of reaction here. Question 2.2, the student investigated the effect of increasing the temperature on the rate of reaction. So if they're going to increase the rate temperature, how does the rate of reaction change? Explain the effect of increasing the temperature on the rate of reaction. Refer to particles and collisions in your answer. So If you increase that temperature, the rate of reaction will also increase. That would carry a mark. The explanation is because if you increase the temperature, the average kinetic energy or energy of the particles will actually increase, and that leads to more successful collisions between the reactants to become products or form products. So your answer, increasing the temperature increases the rate of reaction. 1 mark for that. Because particles have more energy, you can simply say more energy or kinetic energy, so the frequency of collision increases. That's your 3rd mark. Next part, catalysts affect the rate of reactions. Explain on what is meant by a catalyst. Now, catalyst is a substance that increases the rate of a chemical reaction without being used up during the chemical reaction. A substance that increases the rate of reaction and it is not used up during the reaction. It does take part in the reaction, but it's not used up. At the end of the chemical reaction, you should be able to recover the catalyst. 2.4. What are catalysts in biological systems called? Now, biological systems like in the human body, catalysts are known as enzymes. That brings us to the end of question number 2, and I will see you in question number 3.